Hey, what's going on, friends and family? My name's Skylent, and today I'm going to be ranting and rambling on and on about micro MMOs, okay? And this is just a term I just came up with right now. And this is going to be kind of branching off of the discussion we had yesterday. Well, it wasn't a normal editorial, but it kind of was. I did a top 10 most top-selling games, MMOs on Steam. And really, that was actually more of an editorial where I look at the games in a list form, but it's not my list, you know? And a lot of those MMOs, really self-proclaimed or otherwise, you know, they're fan-tagged. They're not really MMOs, and so that was the point of the video. But today we're going to tackle that discussion a little bit more head-on. And we've actually done lots of editorials or even top 10s where I talk about MMOs and how they're just so often misclassified, misidentified, and it really sucks how a lot of these companies will claim that they're MMOs, but they're totally freaking not. But then some games really are, they really do sit in a gray area. And that's really where the debate is, and that's where this video comes in. What is a micro MMO? Yeah, exactly. And I'm gonna be kind of giving my opinion on what potentially I might be willing to cave on a little bit, maybe barely, to consider it not quite a full MMO, but I would consider it a new subgenre, a sub-MMO, a micro MMO. I might do that. But for the most part, I'm still very adamant on making our genre titles very distinct and definitive, which is pro-consumer. If everything is super vague, then that allows all the publishers to just be like, yeah, my game's this popular search term. Whoop-a-doo, it's Souls-like. And it has nothing to do with anything Souls-like, really. It's just an action RPG. That's not the same. Anyways, so yeah, there's a couple of terms. It's not just MMOs, but MMOs, absolutely, if you've been following me, you know I've been trying to tackle this problem head on. It's prolific, okay? You know, entire sites dedicated to just spamming the MMO tag because it's searchable, which means they get clicks and they get money, okay? Anyways, so micro MMO. I think the best way to really define anything is to kind of compare and contrast. That's how I do my reviews. Most people don't, but that's how I do it. Because I assume, you know, if I say something, maybe you can latch onto that prior schema or knowledge of something else, and then you can compare it to something else. So yeah, here we go. I'm gonna list a few things, and actually that's why I like doing top 10 lists. So anyways, I'm gonna list a few games that I think are just action RPGs, okay, first, and then later we'll do games that I might consider a micro MMO. So first and foremost, let's talk about action RPGs. I think that Dragon Nest is just an action RPG. I think Vindictus is just an action RPG. Dark Souls is just an action RPG. Okay, so do you see the differences between these games? And now I'm gonna tell you what I think might be maybe considered a micro MMO. Next, we have Destiny. Okay. So do you see the difference? Do you know the difference? Okay, it's very possible you guys haven't played Destiny. So I guess we'll basically maybe something like Tree of Savior, potentially, which very much actually Tree of Savior looks like a normal action RPG, or maybe even mMmo Legends, actually the new mMmo Legends, which also looks very similar to an action RPG with isometric viewpoint. The difference is between the games that I just mentioned and the previous ones here is that in Dragon Nest and Vindictus, those games, versus Destiny, at least in some way, it does have an open section that you can actually play with other players. You can drop in and drop out. Still, it's not quite massive, but it does have a persistent online experience, okay? The difference with Dragon Nest is that it only exists in the hub town. Only. There is an auction house, I guess you can purchase from, but almost completely, entirely, the game is run through instances. Now, that's not so different from Destiny, but Destiny does have open instances. That is the difference. And that's really where I kind of, whenever I'm looking at certain games that I want to play, that are kind of like, you know, MMOs, or maybe in a similar genre to MMOs, that's what I'm looking for. I want to be able to jump in and jump out and have a persistent effect, you know, a ripple effect on the gameplay. So that's what really, to me, makes an MMO an MMO. It's not quite the actual number. And besides, the term massive doesn't actually really, it doesn't describe a single number. In my opinion, I think the number probably should be 100, and as years go on, it should probably raise, because the term massive is really more in relation to the average. You know, it's something that's much larger than, you know, the average thing. So it's more of a weight thing, it's more of a depth thing. So yeah, massive, it's definitely a fluid number, probably. Definitely very, very non-defined, actually, but the first graphical MMO was 50 players at the very beginning. Don't know when it started becoming named an MMO, but at 50 players, and it had a persistent world that you could jump in and jump out of, and its max whenever it closed was actually 2,000. So in between 50 and 2,000 is probably where the MMO, rests there. But at the same time, you guys make the argument that a proper MMO, such as World of Warcraft, generally you are just running through instances. Generally you are just sitting in town. Generally, you really, even the raids, don't go up to like 50 players. So, a lot of the MMO content in a lot of these modern MMOs, or a lot of classic ones too, they just really don't feel massive in a lot of the cases. The difference, though, is that between a normal MMO and what would just be an online action RPG is that the MMOs have open lobbies or instances or zones that players can jump into and interact with any other player at any time. And when you leave, you do kind of leave behind a ripple effect of some kind. You do leave behind an effect. Actually, this is why I consider Minecraft actually a full-blown proper MMO, because there literally are MMO servers on Minecraft. Now, maybe Minecraft as a whole, isn't an MMO because you can play it single player, but Minecraft, if you were to put it on an MMO list, I absolutely would not contest that. There are literally MMO servers. Same thing with Roblox, actually. There are MMO servers. It's really more like, think of Minecraft as like a game engine or something, and then you make, the MMO out of it. So there's that. Anyway, so a micro MMO, I guess you could say, even at the same time, Minecraft could be a micro MMO, because a lot of the servers have like instancing. They're open instances, though. You can jump in, jump out, all that good stuff. Even just a normal Minecraft server. A micro MMO could be considered something like Ark, Survival Evolved, which can have a decent amount of players, and you can jump in, jump out. It even has RPG aspects and all that good stuff. But actually, yeah, let's move on to the discussion here and talk about that. This is a big point that I really want to make. So there's actually an article written by, I don't know the name. It wasn't Omer, but it's on mmos.com. And it actually tries to compare and contrast Hearthstone and League of Legends and how they have MMO aspects tied to them, which I think is incredibly laughable, especially because it's so obvious and apparent to me, but the things that had, like, okay, what makes an MMO an MMO, and what makes those games similar to what this person said is MMOs, is actually the RPG aspect. So Hearthstone has deck building and classes, I guess. There are some RPG elements to it. League of Legends is similar with the item purchasing, the rune crafting, and you can actually customize your characters to a great deal in League of Legends. It has a lot of RPG mechanics built right in, mechanically and strategically in both those games. And well, when we relate it to MMOs, no, no, that's relating it to an MMORPG. An MMO is not short for MMORPG. I don't know who told you that. I don't know what marketing bullshit you're eating. It's not. MMO is like the umbrella term for massively multiplayer online games, and that's like encompasses a whole lot of genres. There are a lot of different kinds of MMO. You have MMO FPS, such as PlanetSide. You do have MMO RPG, such as Final Fantasy XIV or World of Warcraft. And I'm sure there's tons of other types of MMOs that I just don't know about. Some of them are just simply MMOs because they just don't have a proper, definition. I guess maybe even maybe you could even say that something like, what is that? Realm of the Mad God is kind of an MMO roguelite, because of the fact that it is a roguelite title. It just happens to be online, and it happens to be massively multiplayer online. So, I mean, it kind of does look like an RPG, but it really resembles more of a roguelite type of title, such as Binding of Isaac or something like that, set in an MMO universe that is persistent and with open dungeons and everything. So to me, really, what makes an MMO an MMO is going to be the persistence. And I've said this over and over again. Like, even if you can only jump into a lobby and only play with one other person, or maybe even none, literally asynchronous MMOs do exist, despite what I think a lot of people don't want to consider them MMOs, because you're not ever directly impacting a player in real time, but you have to think in terms of the game. Strategy is not real time proper. So if you have an MMO strategy game, such as something that has territory control, there's resources, clan warfare, stuff like that. I think Clash of Clans has stuff like that. That can be considered something like an MMO strategy game, because even though you're not interacting at any time with one person, you do have like the real game. You have the meta game, which it feels weird and it feels disjointed. but you gotta just take it from a different perspective. The real game is the territory control, it's the resources, it's the attrition, it's the strategy. Obviously, it's an MMO strategy game. I think Illyriad is another one of those games. And in fact, maybe you could even consider For Honor or Heroes and Generals. Actually, Heroes and Generals might very well be considered a micro MMO. It's played in lobbies, but the real like win condition for the game isn't like any one match. It's actually like there's territories, and like literally what I've been saying, you actually control different territories for different factions, and you also have the different resources. So, you know, there are games like that. But then you have proper MMO, which is like Heroes and Generals is the micro version, but then you have PlanetSide, which has almost no instancing. It's completely open, and yeah, you still have the territory control, but you're literally also engaging in it. So I guess you have your normal MMO, and then you still have that social experience. You still have that, I would say, it's very multiplayer, but you can't just say it's very multiplayer or it's just multiplayer online, because that's stupid. And in terms of the genre, I would say micro MMO, because it's still in many ways very massive, and you have potential for massivity, and you have potential to actually interact with a lot of players in indirect ways. And so because it is indirect, and because it is very instanced and not open, I would say they're micro. Now, but what makes those different from proper action RPGs that happen to be online is that there is some bleed between interactions, you know? It's not completely closed off wholly and only in lobbies. So that's gonna be like Path of Exile, stuff like that. Now, I don't know, is there some debate over For Honor? I feel like For Honor's territory control is really not good, it's not done well at all. I just really feel like it doesn't really exist. It just seems like chance. It just seems like chance, and it doesn't really feel like a proper like meta game on top of it. It doesn't feel like Heroes and Generals. It doesn't feel like PlanetSide's territory control. It definitely not Albion's. So all in all, when it comes to For Honor, I probably would not consider it a micro MMO, but just because it does it poorly doesn't mean it doesn't fit in the genre. I don't know. Anyways, so that's my thoughts and feelings. I think I encompassed it pretty well, and I do just want to close and just reiterate one more time to say that you guys who say that these action RPGs are similar to MMORPGs, that's because literally they have RPG in the name. What makes them similar is the RPG aspect and the fact that they are online. What really separates them and what people are looking for whenever they're looking for a massively multiplayer online game is going to be that persistent, massive component. However, I do agree that there is a gray area somewhere in between. Games like Destiny definitely fill that. Warframe at one time actually had territory and guild control, and I think it's possible that even games like Dark Souls, if they had more players and it was more persistently online, could very well kind of touch on the MMO genre, but still not quite an MMO. I think maybe a new term. I'm going to say micro MMO, just because, I don't know, it looks cool when I write it out. Let me know what you guys think, guys. I just came at you just like a consumer. Okay, I didn't want to talk down to you. I want to talk to you guys eye to eye. Hopefully you guys appreciate that. And either way, whatever games you play, I'm not talking down to you whatsoever, okay? I love action RPGs like Dark Souls, and I also love MMOs, obviously, okay? I play all sorts of different games. It's why this is my job. It's why I do this. And hopefully that's why you stay tuned too. Either way, guys, hope you're having fun. My name's Skylent, and I'll see you in the next one.